And hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Welcome to the meeting of online presenters of Virtual Toastmasters Club. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Sunny Fridge, aka Dr. Sunny. Guests, please note, if you want to be a member, we would love it. And to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. However, if you have substantial, relevant presentation experience, we welcome you to apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by our club members. If you haven't done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename. Remember, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We have members and guests from all around the world, many countries. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we are recording this meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. And now, please help me welcome to the virtual stage our club president, Marianne Grady. Welcome, Marianne.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sunny, and welcome, everyone. So happy you could all join us this week. We are online presenters, and we serve those who give online presentations professionally or who aspire to do so. So whether it means public webcasts, live video, internal company video conferences, and screen sharing sessions, if you do those things, you're in the right place. Now tonight we have a very full agenda, so I'm going to keep my remarks short, but I do want to invite David Carr up to tell you about our upcoming election. There's really only about 10 weeks left for this Toastmaster year, and we will have a whole new slate of officers coming in, and David's going to tell you all about them. Put your hands together for David Carr.
All right. Thank you. I am David Carr, one of the founders of this club, joined today by my friend over here, the hybrid meeting active action figure. I also have a digital data action figure, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about elections for next year. We do have a pretty well fleshed out slate of recommended candidates, and we're going to vote on them next week. Now, it's not too late. If you want to get in the mix, if you would like to be part of this club's leadership, let us know. We can either have an election or we can just add your name to the list. But as of right now, the lineup looks like President Joni Renee Laidlaw, VP of Education, Graham Cairns, VP of Membership, Allison Blakeman. Karthika would like to continue as VP of PR, even though she's had some challenges getting here on a regular basis, but she's helped with us promote our members, especially our workshops and other special events. Treasurer Sarah Idahan also has a number of schedule conflicts, but is willing to continue as treasurer. And for Sergeant at Arms, we've actually had several people say, well, I'll do it if nobody else wants to do it. And so if somebody else wants to do it, please speak up. Actually, Sunny is interested potentially in continuing, but part of the point of Toastmasters leadership is to give new people a chance to try something that they might find enriching. If you'd like to be the person who does the song and dance about opening the meeting and telling folks the rules and any other ceremonial duties we might assign to the Sergeant of Arms, please let me know. I see some people here I could call out and pick on who've been in the club for a little while, who might want to help out with that, but Let me know if you're interested. We'll have a vote next week and we'll get it hopefully decided. Please do try and show up next week so that we can get a quorum for the vote. I think that's about it. That it for that, Marianne?
Okay, well, thank you. Couple other things to put on your calendar. On the 28th of April, we're having the World Champion of Public Speaking here in our club, giving an educational session, so you won't want to miss that. Joni reports that we are at 7 DCP points, and we need level 1 and level 2. So if you can complete those before those 10 weeks expire, we would certainly appreciate that. Let's see, I think that's all I have to share with you right now. So let me introduce our amazing Toastmaster of the day, Asil. Welcome, Asil. I can't wait for you to lead our meeting.
Thank you, Madam President. You look so beautiful today. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm excited to be your Toastmaster of the day. Tonight's theme is International Moment of Laughter Day, celebrated every year on April 14th. This is the day to let your inner child come out and laugh away all your worries. As Victor Borge once said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people. So let's bridge that gap tonight and fill our virtual room with smiles and mirth. Whether it's a hearty laugh or a quiet chuckle, let's embrace the joy and amusement this day brings. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guest Joe, our meeting tonight is divided into 3 parts: prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation session. All designed to help us grow as speakers while sharing moments of learning, connection, and mirth. But before we dive into the fun, we have a little bonus, our tip of the day. A tip about tech, technique, or leadership. Christine Staple, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Ebanks. What's our tip for today? Please help me welcome her.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sil. Now, today, the tip of the day is how to use AI tools like ChatGPT for research support in speech writing. So let's talk about AI. I polled some people that I work with and people that I know, and I find that they tend to fall into 3 categories: people who are afraid of the technology, people who are suspicious of the technology, and people who embrace the technology. I have been all 3, but these days I tend towards the latter, embracing the technology. Now, I know that AI technology can be very trippy at times. In fact, Asil shared how once when she was using it and she kept asking it to generate pictures, it kept putting beard on every person. My husband thinks that Sarah O'Connor from Terminator is coming to look for me because of how well I integrate with the technology. But truthfully, in research, I find that using AI gives me benefit in how I go about doing my work. And there are 3 main tips. 1, I talk to it like I talk to you. No hacks, no shortcut. I have conversations, long conversations with ChatGPT, and I find that it knows me. And in doing that, it takes me to tip number 2. It helps me to ask better questions, because sometimes when I'm brainstorming, but I haven't quite framed what I want to say, and I talk to ChatGPT, it gives me back and reframe what I'm asking it and help me to see how better to phrase the question. And third, as a researcher and educator, I tend to be a stickler for the ethics of ensuring that whatever I put out there is evidence-based. So it allows me to grab all those APA format research where I can now cross-reference and cross-check. So all of these things usually would require a whole room full of people years ago. But today, with just me and my laptop, I'm able to do so much more. And maybe Sarah O'Connor is hiding somewhere in the bush, but I'm ready for her. And I think that ChatGPT is a great tool for us to use in our everyday life. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Estelle.
I'm so agree with you, Christine. I also use ChatGPT Perplexity a lot. Not only with my English, also with my native language, Kazakh. Thank you so much for your tip of the day. It was very useful. Thank you. Now, let me introduce our amazing stage crew who will make sure everything runs smoothly. I'll start with our amazing timer, Dr. Andrew Byrne. Please introduce your role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The timer's role is to help the meeting in time management. The organization has 3 traditional segments of the meeting: the prepared speech, the impromptu speech, also known as table topics, and evaluations. Each segment has its own timing. In the prepared speech, you have 2 categories: icebreakers, which are 4 to 6 minutes, and the main speeches are normally 5 to 7. You'll see the green when you've hit your minimum amount of time, the yellow when you've hit midway, and the red when you have reached the end, realizing that you have 30 seconds afterwards to clean up. Don't let it get to that, otherwise you'll wind up going over. In your table topics, you have 1 to 2 minutes. Green is being 1, 1.5 is yellow, and red is 2 minutes. Going back to the evaluation, you have 2 to 3 minutes. Green is 2 minutes, yellow is 2.5, and red is 3. That is the basic premise of our time management system for Toastmasters. So back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Can you confirm that if table topics should end at 8:43 per agenda? Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we have on the agenda.
Okay. Joe, this is for you. You can start wrapping up maybe at 8:42 p.m. Thank you. Next, our counter, Sherry Blake, who will help us avoid filler words because even laughter sounds better without an and in the middle. Please, Sherry.
Thank you so much, Cecile. So my job is to track our filler words, ahs, likes, and at the end of the meeting, I will report on how we did. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Andriy Smolenko, who will highlight our use of language and track how many times we sprinkle our speeches with mirthful expressions. Please help me welcome our grammarian, Andriy Smolenko.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, I'm your grammarian for this evening. My role is exciting. I will be listening and looking out for the use of particularly good English expressions. Please surprise me with your vocabulary. Surprise me with different figures of speech in your prepared speeches. Also, we already posted in the chat the word of the day that I would love to encourage you to use as often and as appropriate as possible. The word of the day today is mirth. Mirth, amusement, especially as expressed in laughter. For example, the audience erupted with mirth. Mirth. Use it and I report back at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Andre. David Carr, who will observe our body language because sometimes our gestures are funnier than our words. Please help me welcome our watcher, David Carr. Yay.
Yes, I will be watching for everything you do, whether it's with your body language or the on-screen effects you use, the backgrounds. I always watch for those things in terms of whether they are effective. So certainly if you're giving a formal speech, anything that you use in terms of special effects, every gesture that you make should be helpful to conveying your message as opposed to distracting from it. I will give some remarks at the end of the meeting. So I am also the vote counter. Should I discuss that at the same time?
Yes, please.
All right.
Please.
Now I do have a question, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Are you a speaker as well as Toastmaster of the Day today?
This is online meeting project. I'm running the meeting as a part of the my
Okay.
pathways, engaging humor pathways.
So I don't think we'll vote on that as best speaker per se. Right? So it's being done as a project. So we have a version of a digital ballot that's available on the website. We also have it through the mobile app that I'm trying to get everybody to use. And when this loads up, it has whoever is on the agenda as proposed members of the ballot to be voted on, but I can make a revision here. And then if I reload the website, I should get the same thing over on the other side of the equation. So I'll share a link in the chat. You don't have to be logged in to use it necessarily. And guests are welcome to vote. So I will collect votes on everything we have to take a vote on this evening. Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, David. And I also wanted to mention that the agenda looks a lot neater and easy to use. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, now it's time for the first act of our meeting, prepared speeches. The part where our speakers share their stories, insights, and perhaps a touch of mirth to brighten our evening. Our first speaker is Carrie Kong, presenting Dynamic Leadership Level 2 Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. She'll share about a time when she was a protege mentee and how her mentor and former English teacher, Miss Medley, came into her life and impacted it. Please help me welcome Carrie with her speech titled Miss Medley.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Asil. Good evening, everyone. Today, I'd like to share a story about my mentor and me. And she is my mentor, and her name is Miss Medley. When I first walked into my high school from a rural village in China to Hong Kong, I barely knew a word of English. It felt like an insurmountable challenge to me, one that separated me from the world, from opportunities, and even from confidence in myself. But then I met Miss Medley. Miss Medley, she was originally from Australia, a city from Sydney. She was my English teacher and also my assigned mentor. At first, I wasn't sure how to approach her. But sure, soon after, I found myself ringing at the staff room bell every day, looking for excuses, just to talk to her. And she always welcomed me, And together, we created a lot of mirth. Our conversations ranged from a lot of topics to the really simple one, like how to learn English effectively, what movies to watch to improve my pronunciation, to the more profound topics, such as how to navigate my career, how to become a role model and a leader, how to build up my confidence in front of people, especially in speaking. She was not only a teacher, but also she was a guide. She was a coach. She was my friend. One of my most vivid memory with her when she was mentoring me for the Hong Kong Speech Festival. I still had a really strong impression how she coached me and mentored me throughout the process. She helped me prepare a poem. The poem name was Plead Mercy. She was teaching me everything. How to express my emotions, when to pause, and how to control my facial expressions, and also about my intonations. All of these come together. It was a wonderful time to work with her. But then some challenge comes. The year during my public examination, I was really overwhelmed. I made a difficult decision that I really want to quit the competition. And I told Miss Medley, I'm so sorry, but I don't think I can remain in the competition anymore. Public examination is my everything, and you know how people are doing in Hong Kong. I really don't want to waste time on a poem. She was really calm. She didn't scold me. She didn't lecture me. Instead, she sat down at a corner and she said, "Carrie, come." I came and she said, "Carrie, I totally understand you. I understand how difficult it is for you to do the poem, to do the competition. At the same time, you need to do your public exams. However, I want you to understand how wonderful you are, how wonderful is your speech, and how moving you are, especially when you're expressing your feelings. And I want the world to see it. Do you think English speaking is important? By improving English, by putting it onto the stage, I'm sure everyone can see it. See that you are on the stage confidently expressing yourself, and it will be better for you in the long term in building up your career, in building up your relationship with every other people. And I'm really sure you'll be a successful person. That sounds right. I've never heard such things so sweet about myself. At that time, something clicked. Maybe I should remain in the competition. Because of her, I remained in the competition. And because of her, I won the first prize of the Hong Kong Speech Festival in the whole Hong Kong district. Miss Medley was more than an English teacher. She taught me about confidence. She taught me about resilience. She taught me about believing in myself. Even though I lost touch with her when she moved back to Australia, I didn't get this chance to see her anymore. I still remember what she said to me. I still remember her short blonde hair, her kind smile, the mirth we had together, and most importantly, the way she looked at me when I stood on the stage, reciting the poem she taught me. In memory of her, here is a part of the poem, Plead Mercy, by Anne Renison. If there is a revolution, she says, I'll kill myself. All those horrible things they do to people. The bullocks have fallen on the roof, edge of the road. He tries. But in spite of the stick, he cannot rise. Lord, have mercy on his eyes. My daughter is just 13. And I was just 16 when I was reciting this poem. I still remember every single line. Miss Medley, wherever you are, I know that your lessons live on, not only in my English, but also in the way I live my life. And this is the power of mentorship. It's more than coaching itself. It's a lifelong lesson of guidance, enlightenment, and a little bit more inspiration. This is how mentorship should look like in Toastmasters. Yes, hand gestures are important. Eye contact is important. Intonation is important. But something is more important than the speaking skills themselves. It's about how we use the speech to reflect about our lives, about ourselves. How we use speech to build up our confidence and stand in front of the stage. How we use speech to connect between people, connect the bridges among the cultures, and how to use speech to build up friendship. And that's how mentorship should look like in Toastmasters. So thank you so much, Miss Medley. And I'm so happy today that I'm standing in front of the stage and to present this. And I hope everyone can learn more and mentor each other. Thank you. Thank you so much, Asil. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Wow. Thank you so much, Carrie. Your story was inspiring and heartfelt, a reminder of how mentorship can bring growth. And I'm so happy she convinced you. Congratulations that you won the first place. We're so proud of you. Thank you. As I told that today, we should let our inner child go. So I did, and I forgot to introduce our chat monitor because I was distracted by our wonderful David. So Sunny Fridge, who will keep an eye on our online interactions, ensuring no joke or emoji goes unnoticed. Please, Sunny, introduce your role.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As chat monitor, I'm going to keep track of the most helpful, encouraging, and humorous posts throughout the meeting. And when called upon, I'll give a 1-minute report and I'll highlight the most noteworthy items placed in our chat. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sunny. And thank you, Carrie, for your wonderful speech. I'm still touched. Okay, now we're going to introduce our second speaker, Marianne Grady. She will be exploring leadership styles in her Level 2 Dynamic Leadership Path. Please help me welcome our wonderful, beautiful president. Marianne, was your speech titled, "Why Would Someone Follow You?"
Good evening, everyone. For my Level 2 project, I had to take a leadership style test. And it turns out that I'm an affiliative leader, somebody who fosters teamwork and harmony to create a cohesive unit. Well, that might be great to know, but in reality, I think the question we should be asking ourselves is, why would somebody want to follow us? Leadership has evolved over the past several years. It used to be get results at no matter what the cost. But today, extraordinary leaders know it's about the people. And if you take good care of those people, they'll take care of the results. I've been an HR person for most of my career, and I've learned countless lessons on leadership, some of them the hard way. And tonight, those are the ones I'm going to share with you. The first one, accountability matters. Early on, I hired a woman to help us with our growing workload. She was the 5th person on our high-performing team. Unfortunately, her work wasn't up to our standards. But I was a new and experienced manager, and she was a single mom. I felt so guilty about firing her, so I didn't. Time went on. Eventually, I had to give a review. And at that time, I gave her points for improvement. Time passed, nothing changed. I knew I had to do the deed. It was right before Christmas, and I had to fire her. I went in and I told my team what had happened. And one of the people on my team said, "Well, it's about time. She was awful." What? My eyes were open. I had been looking this through my own lens instead of as a manager. A manager should be protecting and supporting their team. I failed at that. But what I did was I learned some lessons. I learned that I had to hold people accountable, including myself, and that I had to give feedback on a more frequent and timely basis. These are lessons that I carried forward as I moved on. Next was about communication and inclusion. I like to have team building sessions. I encouraged open dialogue with my team. I even invited them to give me feedback on my performance. I thought I was doing everything right, but I was shocked to learn that the head of the HR department felt excluded from our HR meetings. In reality, she didn't need that information, but it would have been easy and meaningful to include her. So we instituted a Monday morning stand-up meeting, which was brief and structured, and it ensured that we were transparent and that everyone's role mattered. I also started checking in with my people on a more regular basis, and that was a game changer because they all knew that I really cared. Now, the last lesson was one that I learned before I had a team of my own, and it's don't ever put work before your family. I had this manager who was pretty old school, did not believe in work-life balance. And though I had young children, I put in long hours. Except on Halloween. It was 5 o'clock and I was getting ready to go to take my little ones trick-or-treating. He stormed into my office and he said, "I need you to stay here and help me finish this project." Regrettably, I did. When I got home that night, my little ones had had the time of their life out trick-or-treating, and I missed it all. That night, I vowed that I would never let that happen again. I said if I had a team of my own, I'd never ask them to make that sacrifice. I would have boundaries. So on my team, if your child had a school play at 10 a.m., go, please, enjoy. Just check in later. If you wanted to go to the doctor's or if you wanted to be a chaperone on a trip, do it. We could always juggle the work. What I learned is that if you want to have a loyal, hardworking, and happy team, you need to care about what they care about. When I had my retirement dinner, my director of HR got up and spoke, and she touched my heart. She said, "Marianne, what you taught me was that I can be a great HR person and a great mom." This was a full circle moment for me. It meant so much. Leadership is a privilege, one that we should take very seriously. It's not about knowing all the answers, but it's about handling difficult situations, being responsible, and being accountable to your team. I think people want to follow me because I'm fair, I'm committed to learning for both myself and my team, and I do really genuinely care about my team. Now, we've been talking about that question, and leaders, I hope you've been thinking about it because I'm going to ask it again. Why would someone want to follow you, Madam Toastmaster?
Thank you so much, Miriam. Your insights were thought-provoking, and they even sparked a little self-reflection for all of us. Thank you so much. Okay. With those wonderful speeches behind us, it's time for table topics, the part of the meeting where
Can we first
anything
get
can happen.
we first get the timers report? Andy,
Okay.
Yeah.
Timer,
The
Mr.
timers
Mr.
report
Timer.
is put in the chat, and you can see that Carrie did 8 minutes and 41 minutes. That we had Marianne was, I have to get to her spot here. Marianne was 6 minutes and 26 seconds.
So we don't
And
need to vote. We don't need to vote because Marianne
Overtime.
is the only one qualified for today.
right, Carrie also was disqualified.
Okay, great, thanks. But by the way, Andy, if you use the raise hand function, it does really help keep the timer more visible for everybody. The only trick is every time you speak up, Zoom will automatically lower the hand, but the raise hand function puts it at the
That's
first.
why I did the pinning with timer.
But that only works for you, Andy.
Ah, okay.
Only-
Normally, when I have co-host control, I'll put spotlight on, but I didn't have co-host.
we're not doing spotlight, but if you just use the raise hand function, it's a simple way of keeping the timer more visible.
Not a problem.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Dr. Andrew. With those wonderful speeches behind us, it's time for table topics. It's part of the meeting where everything, anything can happen. It's like jumping from the plane, but instead of a parachute, you are armed with your wit and creativity. To lead these table topics, we have our wonderful table topics master, Joe Young, who I believe is going to do that for the first time, right? So please help me welcome Joe Young, our table topics master.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Appreciate it. Oh, Andrew, did you have a?
No, just trying to move my timer spot.
Got it. No worries. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I see that we have a guest here today with us, Joel. So maybe I'll do a quick primer on what table topics is. So essentially, table topics gives, I think, us a chance to practice impromptu speaking, which is, I believe, quite important. Since I think, at least for me, most of the time I have to speak in meetings or for work, it's usually impromptu. It's usually not prepared, and it's usually questions that are pretty difficult or pretty tough. So I believe this is actually very good, at least for me. Not sure for others, but. So during table topics, what I will do is give each participant a prompt, a question, and then you will have 1 to 2 minutes to answer it, and that's basically it. I think the focus again, for us is really to have fun, right? To have fun with the questions, not to take it too seriously. And Joel, I'm going to ask you a question, and if you would like to answer, feel free to answer, but if not, just you can always make something up, so everything goes. Again, everything goes. The point is to have fun, and to practice how we can think on our feet. So that's kind of the 2-minute, 3-minute primer. So today, in the spirit of practicing, our presentation skills, I would like to actually explore something which has been very challenging for myself. And this is, for me, I think it's one of the most challenging type of presentation, which is when you have to present, where you have to convey some type of technical or industry specific information. The problem with that usually is that, one, there's usually a lot of industry jargons, and two, there's usually a lot of moving parts, and three, the topics are usually not very interesting. It's not talking about your vacation or about where you want to go have fun. It's usually stuff that makes you fall asleep. So, yeah, I'm curious how this group kind of tackles that and what their experiences are. So, my first question, I think, for the group is, have you ever done a very highly technical presentation or trying to explain something highly technical to an audience, and how did you go about it and keep them engaged? So, I think for this one, David, would you like to take this one?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. Sure, I can take that one. Yeah, aren't you sick of me giving technical presentations? I do it here at the club. And I guess the challenge is that I'm actually not a professional programmer, although I sort of play one on the internet. I am a professional communicator. I'm a writer. I'm an editor. I am supposed to be able to explain things in plain language. And yet, the tendency to go native, that's probably a somewhat racist term, but so pardon anybody who's offended by that. But the tendency to get wrapped up in the jargon to the point where it becomes invisible to you. You don't realize you are speaking in jargon, and then you realize you've been talking for 10 minutes and somebody raises their hand and say, "What was it you said 15 minutes ago?" I didn't understand that part at all. At all. I am completely lost. You're trying to sell me on something, and I have no idea what it is that you are even talking about. And so the only medicine for that is just constant reminders to yourself. Keep it simple. Don't try and make 20 points when you have 3 important points. Bring it home, convey it as simply as you can. It's not easy. I get it wrong all the time, but I am trying to do better, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. And I think that is indeed the challenge of having to present something that is very technical. And that leads to my next question, which is, when was the last time, when was the last time you have completely lost your audience when you're trying to present something highly technical, and how did you recover? Sherry, would you like to take that one?
No, but I will. Thank you so much for that question. I will say that I've never been in a situation where I knowingly lost my audience. I may think I lost my audience, and in that situation, I would pivot to try to bring them back in. So do we ever know that we lost our audience? Does our audience say to us, "We're lost, we're not following you, you're boring us"? I think in that situation, I would look at my audience's face and maybe body language and think that they're not following me. But I don't always know if that's the case. Because in good situations where I get great feedback, my audience looks the same. Like right now, I'm looking at your faces and it looks like you're possibly not engaged. Maybe I've lost you. I just think it's just sometimes that look we have on our face. So in that instance, when I do feel that maybe sometimes I'm rambling and my audience isn't following me, I will pause and maybe say something engaging to bridge that gap and hope that I'm keeping them entertained, so to speak, and just keeping them engaged in what I have to say. So it is difficult. So the first thing is, it's difficult to know whether or not you lost your audience. How do you tell? How do you tell? How do you know? No one's telling you that, because even when you think you lost them, at the end they go, that was great. So that's the first thing. And then if you do lose them, what you can do is just take a pause, take a deep breath, and then try to find something to bring them back in. Thank you so much. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Sherry. That is indeed the struggle. And so far, the two participants that we have so far, it sounds like, presenting technically there's a lot of challenges associated with it. Keeping folks engaged, making sure that the narrative is simple for people to follow. So presenting technical topics sounds like it doesn't sound like something that people will do for fun. But here's my other question, which is, do you have a technical topic or something that's highly complicated that for whatever reason you just love explaining to people because you do it so well? Jim.
Joe, do I have a technical topic that I love to present because because I love to present it? Well, yes, I do. And yet, at the same time, it's something that absolutely no one, literally no one, is interested in hearing it. Going back, let's see, about 40 years, I was a technical presenter on a brand of computers, a line of computers that there were only used, it was only used by maybe couple of hundred companies in the world. This was a very niche market, very, very specific. And I taught the programming on those things. This was before the day of having IT. They were engineers. They were engineers that were forced into programming on a computer that they didn't understand. And I had so much fun explaining, because I'm an engineer also. And so it was difficult for me to understand these things. And that I got joy out of explaining these technical things to them in a way that they could understand. And so I would explain addressing, for instance. Pre and post indexed indirect addressing is something that would put everybody to sleep, but I could explain it in a way that kept people's attention. I enjoyed it, and believe it or not, they actually enjoyed it also. And that was why I was able to make my way as a rather high-paid technical presenter in a very demanding environment. Not that I was all that knowledgeable, but I was entertaining and I had fun with it. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Jim. That is fantastic. That is really fantastic. And it is great to hear that someone in this group is able to enjoy presenting technical topics. So I really appreciate that. So I think we have a guest here today. Joel, are you comfortable with taking a question for table topics?
Of course.
Great, fantastic. So I guess question for you is, it is great if we have a lot of time to present something that is technical, but was there a time in your life, in your experience, where you have to convey something very complicated, very technical in a very short period of time, where you have to basically make yourself understood to someone, and the topic is very complicated?
Well, I've never actually been very interested in complex topics like some of my friends and peers, but they've tried to explain it to me so much that I just got so bored. But sometimes during presentations and times, I've been the leadership and I've had to basically break like this topic I'm so interested in. I'll break it down to you in like bite-sized chunks so you can actually understand what I mean when I say this. So yeah, I've had to do that under pressure with project presentations as a team leader, and eventually, I decided that I just had to make it fun instead of keeping it technical. I would just humanize it instead of being like, now this technical term for this technical term goes this other place. Are you still paying attention to me? Come on, people. No, but I just learned how to make it fun with a bit of a dash of humor thrown in there to keep them engaged.
Fantastic, Joel. That is a
I would also, I
well,
learned how to be mature and keep telling these people what they need to hear. I would be like, I would train them. I would tell them, and I would be like, this is what you need to do, and I would help them. I would make it funny. I would make it engaging, make some human stories like this. Here's what my experience is with this, because if I were in this situation, I would get bored to death by technical terms. I'd fall asleep with statistical data points and everything. College classes, oh my gosh, I was falling asleep. It was so boring. So I'm gonna learn how to humanize this, make it fun for y'all. It's amazing, and I love you all. Thank you.
Joel, that was fabulous. That was fantastic. I'm very impressed. This is your first table topics session. So really well done. Quick question to our Madam Toastmaster. Do I have time for one more question, or am I running out of time?
You have time until 1:42, I believe. So you have
42. Oh,
Mhm.
fantastic. So I think we have time for another question. So I think I guess the last question for me is, I think on top of the challenges of explaining something that's really complicated to perhaps people who already have some knowledge of the matter, which is the typical kind of situation, the additional challenge comes when we have to explain something to a layperson, right? For example, if I'm a computer engineer and I have to explain to my mom what I do for a living, or if I work in AI and I have to explain to my old uncle what AI is, that's kind of like a additional challenge on top of just on top of the usual. So my question is, when was the last time you had to explain something really complicated or technical to a layperson without the ability to spend a lot of time to get that person up to speed? Let's see. Andre, would you like to take this one?
Andre or me?
Andrea.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Joe. Would you like to repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so the question is, when was the last time you had to explain a very complicated topic or a very technical topic to a layperson without the ability to bring them up to speed, right? And give them sort of additional background information.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much for this question, Joe. It's an excellent question. I would love to take on. I'm a debt advisor. So I help businesses to go through bankruptcy or avoid bankruptcy. And in many ways, it can be quite challenging in technical terms to explain to a lay person who have never come across financial difficulties, parts of it. Even though you're an entrepreneur or just you decided to spend all your money on gambling, women, and other sorts of things, you can still would come to me for advice. From time to time, I do Facebook Lives where within about 5 to 10 minutes, I try to explain quite complicated judicial chunks of the bankruptcy process. And sometimes I have only two people watching me. And those two people, one of them is my mom and dad online on Facebook Live, and the other person is my auntie and uncle from very remote place in Ukraine. Even though I found it personally quite challenging to relay those terms to them, I I speak to them because first, I know I can make a useful content after that Facebook Live. So I can cut it to pieces and then post it in many social medias. And the second one is amazing then for my mom to call me and say, look, son, the way you explained that thing about bankruptcy, I did not like that at all. It was too complicated. It didn't go the way I thought it would be. And then my auntie sending me a message again saying, you were unshaved. How could you go live without having a proper shave? So my message is just, yes, I've tried, I've failed, but I will do it again because I like it. Back to you, Joe.
Fantastic, Andrea. That is a great answer, and I really appreciated that. And with that, I think we're right on time at 8:42. So back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Joe. Your questions were not only interesting, but also educational, because we're here to practice our presentation skills, and we need to make sure that our audience, they won't lose interest in what we are trying to present. And I usually, when I don't understand complex terms, I ask ChatGPT, can you explain this like I'm a little child? And it starts like, well, pretend that this is toy and something like that. So this is the way that I can understand those complicated words. Well, if I am a general evaluator, I would say that I was rusty, and I started with the agenda I sent it where I mentioned that our meeting is on Sunday, and then I forgot to introduce our chat master, Dr. Sani, and also I mentioned that Joe was running the table topics for the first time, but it was his second time. So this is what why we need to do roles often. Now, I believe our general evaluator cannot run this session because of her voice. So can I introduce this part and lead this part? Okay.
You can do it.
Now, okay. Now
I may not have a voice, but I have a plan.
Okay, I believe you. Now we move into the evaluation portion of the meeting, the part where our evaluators get to play detective, uncovering clues about what worked, what didn't, and where we can improve. But don't worry, this isn't a crime scene. It's more like a treasure hunt for golden nuggets of feedback. And today I'm so pleased to introduce our evaluators, speech evaluators. And I'll start with our Andriy Smolenko, evaluator of Carrie Speech. Please help me welcome Andriy.
Thank you very much, Asil. My fellow online presenters, guests, and most importantly, Carrie. I'm speechless, literally speechless with amusement after listening to your speech. I'm speechless with emotions overwhelming me in a positive way. Your speech was about a mentorship, in particular, your experience being a protege to a lady from Australia called Miss Medley, who impacted your life profoundly, who changed your life, who inspired you, and who was your friend. You started your speech with amazing story, true story, based on facts about your childhood, how your little girl from China came across that lady from Australia who was your English teacher in school, how she impacted and helped you to shape not only your English language skills, but your life skills. How she held your hand through one of the most challenging times in your life, the contest, where you won the first prize. The speech about a lady who not only was your mentor, who was not only your teacher, she was much more than that. In your speech, you carefully crafted a message that we speak not just to express the words, we speak to make friends, we speak to make connections, we speak to make changes, not only in our, but in other people's lives. Your facial expressions, your energy, your commitment, your eyes were beaming when you were telling the story about that lady. And the poem you cited, the poem who helped you to get the first prize, and the daughter that you have now, the 13 years old, all those little things I think would make an excellent speech for the contest. I would definitely think you should try to make the speech for the next level contest. What I found difficult to make any recommendations. However, I personally would feel even more inspired if you could address the audience with a question: do you have Miss Medley in your life? Do you have Mr. Medley in your life? And pause. Just let us think a little bit about those people in our life who impacted us. And then you would make that excellent connection with your story about the importance of mentorship and how it impacts that. So perhaps just right at the end of the speech, make a pause and then give the powerful ending. Overall, an excellent speech, Carrie. I would encourage you to try for the contest. I would vote for you. Back to you, Asil.
Thank you so much, Andre, for your constructive feedback and your friendly, warm feedback. Our general evaluator asked me to turn over to her, so she's going to lead this session, I believe. And Johnny?
I'm here. Jim, you're up.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, our guest Joel, and of course, Madam President Mary Ann Grady. Mary Ann, one of the problems with being president is that you tend not to speak as often as you normally would. And so we have missed hearing you as you've been president. It was worth waiting for. This was a great presentation. You asked a terrific question. Why would someone follow you? I love that. I get preached to an awful lot at Toastmasters about the right way to doing leadership. You asked the question, why would someone follow you? You then answered the question by providing 3 different points, 3 different things that you wanted to talk about, but you engaged us with storytelling. You didn't just lay out a bunch of rules for us, you told a story in each case. And what was even better is you didn't tell a story about one of your successes. Instead, you told a story about your failures and what you learned from the failure. And we learned also because we learned from your mistake. And that was just so well done. Your verbal skills are top notch. You were just so on target. You were great here. Visually, it looked superb. It was wonderful. I have one suggestion for you, and it's a small one because this was such an impressive presentation. But you did have, as I say, 3 points in your presentation, but you didn't emphasize when you were moving to a new point. And this is something that I talked to Joe last week about. If you were presenting in person, it would be fairly easy to move from one point in the stage to another point in the stage to indicate that you're changing topics. But here you don't have that capability. You could put a slide up or something like that, but I think that would be overkill. You don't need to do that. In your case, you could have simply just held up your hands. I don't have the room here to do it, but if you had held up your hand, point number 1 or point number 2, point number 3, that would have gotten across to us that you were moving to a new point and allowed us to kind of refocus and understand that we're moving in a new direction. But this is such a tiny point. You looked great visually. You were great verbally. This was an incredible presentation, and I'm looking forward to hearing it again when I don't have to worry about evaluating it, hearing it again on the replay, because this was incredible good. And I'm floundering around now trying to figure out how to work the word mirth into my presentation. Here, my presentation was without mirth. How's that? Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Timer. Timer.
Johnny, we did not hear you.
Andy, may I have your report for the evaluation time?
Yes, it's in the chat. Jim was 323. Andre was 325. And
Are we both qualified?
Johnny,
yeah, 325. Yeah. Yeah, the other times Andre was 325 and Jim Barber was 323, actually.
Johnny, what if I continue
I'm
your
trying to see if I
session?
can do this regardless of not having a voice. So if you look at my screen, you'll see the role.
Post a written evaluation so I can read at
And
the
if
end
you
of
look at
the
my screen,
meeting.
you'll see the next role. I'm actually showed up because I want to see if I can do it without a voice. And if we would, because it's humor, you see miming, follow along with the on-screen mimes. So our counter is next.
Ah, okay. I get it now. Thank you. Thank you, Joni. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I mean, we did pretty well overall. I do want to point out that there was a couple of people who spoke a few times and I didn't catch anything. So that was great. Jim Barber being one of them. I'm always listening to him. I'm like, come on, Jim, I know you're going to have something, but I didn't catch anything unless somebody else did. Joe. Okay, Joe. So Joe, you had quite a few in a few categories. You had quite a few of ahs, you had a couple you knows and so watch it. Be more aware when you're speaking, slow down, pause. That's probably the best thing to do is to pause, and that would alleviate some of the filler words. Other than that, Asil had 4 and then between Christine, Andrew, and Andre and Marianne, you may have had 1 or 2 or ahs. But overall, we did pretty well tonight. Back to you, Joni Laidlaw. What's next? Let's see the next meme.
I believe it's my role. Grammarian with the words of the day mirth. I'm quite surprised that there are not that many people who use the words of the day. I would like to praise Marianne Grady, who put words of the day mirth in the chat. She didn't say it, however, she used it. So well done, Marianne. Jim Barber, excellent. Two mirth in his evaluation speech. And Asil is the winner. She used the word mirth 4 times. Also, praise to Carrie Kong. In her prepared speech, she used the word mirth twice. Overall, we are strong online presenters club, and some of the youth of English language were just out of this world. I'm not gonna say who did that. Everyone did. Back to you, Madam General Evaluation.
I was trying to get the watcher up, but I don't think that one's working. There we go. Watcher.
That's me. All right. You know, I think the thing that struck me the most was Carrie's speech. Yeah, I really noticed that, you don't have a lot of maneuvering room within this little box to do hand gestures, but she did a good job of getting the hand gestures within the frame. And so she helped to bring her story alive with that, as well as just with her face, with her smile, with her expressions that really emotionally involved us in the story and how emotionally involved she was. There are probably other points that I ought to be noting in my report and was wrapped up with something else at the time and didn't pay attention. But Carrie really gave me a really strong and very good impression today. So let me recognize that. Madam General Evaluator.
Chat monitor is up next.
Dr. Sunny, you're muted.
You're miming too.
Hello, my new mic. If you touch it, something happens wrong. What I was trying to say is I'm finding something helpful, something encouraging, and something humorous. And some of the things that I found in the chat, if I can find my comments, here we are. Joni gave a nice compliment to David on nice upgrades on our website. I thought that was really nice. Also, let's see, one other thing. Right before the meeting, we were all asked by our president, when's the time that we laughed so hard and if it was kind of in a inappropriate way, we got more points. Joni also said that she laughed at a funeral, and you all have heard her laugh, and it's not quiet. We have our note takers in the room, and sometimes you have to remember that's not going to be seen. However, what I can tell you is that the AI said that we were going to try to find a co-sergeant at arms to assist with the role, but sometimes AI hallucinates because we're trying to find a co-VP PR. So I thought that was interesting. Beware, sometimes our chats do hallucinate. And finally, Carrie Kong talked about how Andriy Smolenko gave her such a great evaluation, and she couldn't believe that he was so attentive to the details of her speech. And also, before I leave, I want to say that Andrew Byrne, Dr. Byrne, always puts great information. So if you can do so, please go to the 3 dots at the top and hit Save Chat, because there are a lot of golden nuggets there, and you may even have some mirth. Back to you.
Let's vote.
Let's vote. David?
Sorry, you're asking for the vote counting results. Yes, we do have some results. And I will share them in just a moment. I'd like to share a little bit of song and dance on screen. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm letting the technology get in the way once again. Our winners for this week for Table Topics, it went to Jim Barber. For Best Evaluator, for once, it went to not Jim Barber, Andrei Smolenko. And for Best Speaker of the Day, though it was based on somewhat on a technicality, but also on a great speech, Marianne Grady. So congratulations to the winners, and you're all winners here.
You, Toastmaster of the Day.
That's you, Asil.
Okay. Should I read what you posted?
I
Evaluation
didn't
for the-
know. I didn't know if you had a closing statement since you're doing it as a project.
Well, I haven't done this role for a long time, and I really enjoyed, and it taught me some lessons today. Hopefully you enjoyed too. And we had some laughs, we had some smiles. That was really nice. And Johnny, you are so creative with your miming. It was something interesting. Overall, I truly enjoyed, and it was truly a pleasure serving you as your Toastmaster of the Day.